Hey guys, today in the Analects of Confucius, we'll be focusing on generosity in terms of giving people money in order to aid them in some way. And yeah, without further ado, let's get started. 6.4 Zihua or Gongxihua was sent on a mission to the state of Qi. Ranqiu asked their employer on behalf of Zihua's mother for an allowance of grain. He checked first with Confucius about what might be an appropriate amount, and the master said, "Give her a fu." Ranqiu asked for more. The master said, "Add another yu." Ranqiu, in the end, gave her 5 bing. Confucius said, "Chi," or Gongxihua, went off to Qi, drawn by firm horses and sporting a light fur gown. I have heard it said, "A gentleman is busy finding ways to help the poor and desperate. He does not try to top the supply in the storehouse of the rich." All right, so for some context, Zihua or Gongxihua was a diplomat. He was a very talkative disciple of Confucius, and he really knew how to converse with guests and could be called the face of the state. But one thing that we did talk about somewhere in like 5.8, I'm not sure, he really does focus too much on form and like the external part more than the internal part, which is a problem. But for right now, the most important piece of information about him is that he's pretty well off. He's pretty rich, and because we can see that with this drawn by firm horses and sporting a light fur gown. And we're getting too ahead of ourselves. So, he was a diplomat and he was sent on a mission to the state of Qi. And Ranqiu was, he was also a disciple of Confucius, and he served under a lot of like the more important families in the government of Lu, and he was serving in the household, and so he wanted for an allowance of grain for Zihua's mother. And here the measurements get a little strange, but essentially all you need to know is a fu is a moderate amount and a yu is a little more than a fu. And a bing is just way too much. And with that being said, 5 bing is just an too excessive amount of grain. And Confucius does comment that Zihua's family doesn't need that much grain. Essentially, Ranqiu, by giving this much grain to Zihua's family, is topping the supply in the storehouse of the rich. And Confucius notes that a gentleman is busy finding ways to help the poor and desperate. So essentially, the gentleman is finding ways to help the urgently poor, not the already rich, because the rich people, I guess, already have enough. And they surely, if they do need more things, then they can surely do it by themselves. And so essentially, help should be given to those who are urgently in need. But at the same time, this generosity that you're giving to people, it doesn't matter if they're poor or they're rich, but this generosity should be wise and fair, but it shouldn't be too excessive or blind. You shouldn't just go, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll just give you a huge amount." And honestly, if you're just a normal person and you're being way too generous to people, then they might think it's actually kind of offensive, actually, because you're kind of treating them as lower than you. That's why you're freely giving them a lot of stuff, even if your intentions are, even if you're trying to help them, they probably won't see it in a very nice way. And yeah, that'll be all today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!